Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving deep into monorepos and NX.
Yeah, all things NX.
You know,
It's a
5 million downloads a week,
It's a lot.
75% of Fortune 100 companies using it.
Yeah,
We've got a ton of sources here.
we do.
We're going to pull out all the good stuff, give you all the updates on NetX.
Yeah, and like what people are actually doing with monorepos in the real world.
And even like peek into the future.
A little AI stuff.
Yeah, little AI action.
It's a really exciting time for monorepos.
It is.
And Next is like right there leading the way.
Yeah.
Always evolving.
So let's talk about Next Power Pack.
Okay.
When I first saw that, I have to admit my open source heart skipped a beat.
I understand.
Pay to play.
Yeah.
But it's actually a really clever approach, I think.
Yeah,
Oh.
it is. Like the way they've structured it is
I
interesting.
like it.
Because Next itself is still MIT licensed.
Right.
It's fully open source.
Yeah.
All those core features,
Yeah.
totally free.
Still free.
Power Pack is like a separate thing.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
more for enterprise teams.
Okay.
So yeah, don't panic if you're worried about open source.
No, it's not pay to win.
It's not pay to win at all.
It's more about sustainability.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
NX.
Yeah, they need resources.
Right.
It takes a lot to make something like NX.
To maintain it.
Yeah.
And to keep developing it.
And to meet the needs of these big companies
Uh-huh.
that are using it more and more.
So it's like they can cater to those companies, but still invest in the open source core
Exactly.
that everyone benefits from.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what superpowers does this Power Pack unlock
So
those enterprise users?
one of the coolest things is conformance rules.
Oh.
Imagine you're working on like
Yeah.
a massive project,
Like-
hundreds of developers,
Okay.
like a huge e-commerce platform.
Yeah.
You need some rules
Yeah, you can't.
to keep things from getting out of hand.
Yeah.
So conformance rules are kind of like guardrails. They make sure everyone's doing things the same way.
Oh.
So it's like,
It's like a code reviewer that never sleeps.
yeah,
So you mentioned enforcing module boundaries.
Yeah.
Can you give me like a real world example of that?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's say you have a team working on the front end and a team working on the back end.
Okay.
It's easy for their code to start overlapping
Yeah.
and create dependencies that you don't want.
Yeah.
So then you change something on the back end and it breaks the front end.
Yeah.
So PowerPack can help prevent that
By
by enforcing these module boundaries,
keeping it clean.
keeping it clean.
Yeah. So a little discipline up front
Yeah,
saves a lot of headaches later on.
for sure.
What else can these rules enforce?
So they can require code owners
Oh, okay.
for every project in the monorepo,
Yeah.
which goes back to what they were talking about at the conference,
Okay.
the Monorepo World Conference.
Yeah.
The human side of monorepos.
Yeah.
Like clear ownership is so important
Oh, yeah.
if you want people to collaborate.
It's like, I remember they had that analogy with a band.
Yeah.
You can't have everyone just like jamming.
No.
You know, you need someone
You need a conductor.
to kind
You need sheet music.
yeah, to orchestrate it.
Right.
And Power Pack also offers self-hosted cache storage.
It does.
So they're moving from like a file-based system to a database,
Yeah.
which sounds like a big upgrade.
It is a big upgrade.
Why is a shift?
So it gives you way more control over your caching.
Okay.
You can be picky about what gets cached.
Yeah.
You can like prioritize certain things.
So if there's like a critical task that keeps failing,
Yeah.
you could tell it to like prioritize rerunning that.
Exactly.
Okay.
And optimize your storage space.
So Power Pack is about bringing order,
Efficiency.
peace of mind
A little peace of
to
mind.
those big enterprise scale monorepos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's not the only big change happening with X. There's Project Crystal.
Which is supposed to make NeckX way easier to adopt,
Oh.
especially if you're not just working with JavaScript.
Oh, cool.
Project Crystal. I love that name.
I know.
And the goal is less configuration, smoother onboarding.
Yeah, who doesn't want that?
So the idea is to leverage your existing tools as much as possible.
Okay.
Next adapts to your workflow.
I like it.
You don't adapt to
That's
NeckX.
a good philosophy.
Yeah, it is.
Very human-centric.
Yeah.
And,
Which is something they talked a lot about at that conference,
Okay.
Monorepo World,
Yeah.
the human side of things.
Yeah.
And one of the challenges they highlighted was managing hot files.
Oh.
You know those files
Yeah.
that everyone's always changing?
The ones that cause all the merge conflicts.
Yeah. And they had this really funny example.
What was it?
This XML file
Oh, yeah.
that was causing all this chaos.
That's a good reminder that a poorly structured monorepo can actually hurt collaboration.
Boy, for sure.
Right.
So if you're listening,
Yep.
think carefully about how you're structuring your files
Yeah.
and how that's impacting your team.
Yeah.
Don't let one file become a bottleneck.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Okay, so that brings us to conformance.
Yeah.
It's not just about code style.
Right. It's about meeting company standards or industry standards.
Right.
And I remember this one talk at Monorepo World about measuring what really matters.
Yeah.
It was all about turning those different metrics into something comparable.
So, like, how do you compare a performance metric
Exactly.
that's measured in milliseconds to, like, a security score or a code style rating?
You need a way to translate those into a common language.
Yeah, because, like, saying, my code is 30 milliseconds slower.
Right.
Doesn't actually tell you much.
No, you need context.
You need context, right?
So there are tools emerging to help with this.
Okay.
Like the Next Conformance plugin and Code Pushup.
Cool.
They give you visualizations and reports so everyone can see how the project is measuring up.
Cool.
To those standards.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
A concrete solution for our listeners.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about Nextcloud.
Okay.
And how its distributed task execution,
DTE,
or DTE,
is
revolutionizing CI, continuous integration.
Continuous integration.
Or CI, I like to call it the CI speed booster.
I like that.
What's the secret sauce?
So imagine your typical build process.
Okay.
It's like this long line of tasks that have to happen one after another.
Yeah.
It's like waiting in a really slow line at the store.
Yeah.
DTE is like if they opened up a bunch of extra lanes and let you go through any of them.
So less waiting, more building.
Less waiting, more building.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
But how does it actually distribute these tasks? Does it require like a ton of configuration?
No. Nextcloud does all the hard work.
Oh.
It looks at your project, figures out what can be run in parallel, and then it distributes those tasks across however many machines you have.
So it's like having an army of tiny builders.
It is.
All working on your project at the same time.
Yeah.
I like it.
And to take full advantage of this,
they
have these things called atomized tests.
Oh, okay.
So instead of running these big end-to-end tests that take forever, they break them down into smaller pieces.
So it's like taking that giant pizza we were talking about and slicing it up.
Slicing it up even more.
Into even smaller pieces so you can eat it faster.
Exactly.
So these smaller tests can then be run at the same time across multiple machines.
Which cuts down your test time.
Drastically.
Drastically, yeah.
That's a game changer.
It is a game changer.
I can only imagine what that does for speed and efficiency.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
And Nextcloud makes it so easy.
Okay.
You don't have to be a distributed systems expert to use it.
Okay, so we've got power and ease of use. Speaking of power, let's talk about NextX release.
Okay.
This one seems to be all about automating.
It is.
Those tedious tasks that we all dread.
Yeah, those things that nobody wants to do.
So it's like versioning.
Versioning, yeah.
And publishing.
Publishing within your monorepo.
Yeah.
It's like having a personal assistant to take care of all the little details.
Okay.
So fewer manual steps.
Yeah.
Fewer errors.
Yeah.
More consistency.
I like it.
Across your projects.
Yeah.
Win, win, win.
And here's the best part. It's language agnostic.
Oh, really?
So it doesn't matter if you're working with JavaScript or Python
or Java or whatever.
Next release can help you out.
It can.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So NextX is like breaking free from its JavaScript roots and embracing all these other technologies.
It's becoming a more universal tool.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because monorepos are being used for more and more things.
You're right.
Not just web apps.
It's a good time to be a monorepo fan. I'm really excited about the future of Next.
Me too.
And monorepos in general.
It's like they're solving so many of the challenges we face.
As our projects get bigger and more complex.
Yeah.
And speaking of the future, we got to talk about Tusky.
We do.
Now that's a name that sparks curiosity.
Tusky is the code name for this AI-powered companion that's coming to Nextcloud.
AI
Yeah.
in my development workflow.
It's the future.
This is getting futuristic.
Yeah.
So what can Tusky actually do?
So think of it like a super intelligent coding buddy.
Okay.
That's always one step ahead.
I like it.
It can analyze your project.
Yeah.
Understand your coding patterns.
Yeah.
And offer insights that go way beyond what the current Next chatbot can do.
So we're talking about things like intelligent project setup, dependency analysis.
Dependency analysis?
Maybe even suggestions for optimizing our monorepo structure.
Exactly.
Wow.
And it could even go further.
Okay.
Like, could it predict scaling issues?
Before they happen.
Before they happen.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Or suggest the best way to structure your monorepo
Right.
for performance and collaboration.
It's like having a crystal ball.
It is.
for your code.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm on board the Tusky hype train.
I am too.
But before we get too carried away dreaming about the future,
Yeah.
let's go back to some concrete improvements
Right.
that were in NX17.
Sounds good.
Okay.
NX17 was a big release.
It was.
Lots of new features
Lots of good stuff.
to solve common pain points.
Okay, let's start with the task graph.
Okay.
That's
Near and dear to every developer's heart.
yes.
That visual representation of your dependencies
Yes.
and task execution order.
So important for understanding how your monorepo works.
It is.
Okay, so what did they do to it in NX17?
So they made some key improvements to the visualization.
Okay.
It's more informative
Okay.
and actionable.
Informative and actionable.
Yeah,
Two of my favorite words.
I know.
Okay, so what actually changed?
So one thing is how module federation is represented.
Okay.
It's much easier to see how different parts of your app interact,
Okay.
which modules are shared, which are consumed,
Yeah.
and how changes might impact other parts.
So, like, if you're heavily reliant on module federation,
Yeah.
having that clear visual is really helpful
It can really simplify things.
for development and debugging.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and another thing is they made it possible to see your task dependencies
Okay.
in more detail.
Okay.
So you can see information about shared inputs and outputs,
Okay.
which can help optimize your build process.
So you can see, like,
Yeah.
which tasks depend on the same data
Yeah,
or produce results that other tasks need.
exactly.
So it's really about understanding that build pipeline
yeah,
and making sure it's running efficiently.
exactly.
And those task graphing improvements are just one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
So NegMike 17 also brought enhancements to how Nex integrates with Nextcloud.
It did.
Next
That platform for distributed tasks and caching
and collaboration.
collaboration.
It's like the secret sauce.
It is. So
Something.
in NGIX 17,
Yeah.
they made it even more powerful and intuitive.
You give me the details.
Okay, so one thing is you can now directly connect your NegX workspace
Okay.
to your Nextcloud organization.
Okay.
So it streamlines the authentication.
No more juggling accounts
Yeah, no more juggling.
and configuration.
Yeah,
And they also introduced pre-configured tasks
They did.
for common workflows.
like running tests, building apps, deploying,
So it's like having best practices
Yeah.
baked right in.
make right in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Less configuration, more coding.
Yeah.
And speaking of coding, let's talk about simplifying the ngx.json file,
Okay.
the heart of your workspace configuration.
It is.
But sometimes it could get a little overwhelming.
It could.
What did they do to simplify it?
So they focused on getting rid of redundancy
Okay.
and making the config more intuitive. So like before, you might have to repeat certain configurations
Yeah.
for different targets or projects.
Yeah.
So now there are ways to consolidate that
Yeah.
and make the file much easier to read.
Less visual noise.
Yeah, less visual noise.
More clarity.
Exactly.
So it's not just about making the file shorter.
No, it's about making it more user-friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
It's all about lowering the barrier to entry.
Yeah, making it more accessible.
And that brings us to Nex's decision to dog food NegX workflows
Oh, yeah.
within their own repository.
That's a big move.
Yeah, okay.
It means they're using their own product internally.
Putting their money where their mouth is.
Exactly.
So for those who don't know dog fooding,
Yeah.
it means using your own product,
Yeah.
just like you would expect your customers to use it.
Yeah, you got to believe in it enough to use it yourself.
So X workflows,
Yeah,
that was a big step for Nex.
it was.
It was their move into being a CI provider, letting you run all your CI tasks right in the Ends Cloud platform.
Yeah.
So they were basically like,
Oh, wait.
we believe in this so much, we're going to use it ourselves.
Yeah, we're going to build NexX with Ents workflows.
So it's like a rigorous real-world test.
It is
Right.
proving that it can handle a big, complex code base.
Yeah.
Like the Nex repo itself.
It's a seal of approval,
It is.
saying that this is not just theoretical.
Yeah, it's battle tested.
It actually works.
And that approach isn't just for Nex workflows.
Okay.
They do it with a lot of their tools.
So they're constantly using their own stuff.
Yeah, which makes sure that what they build is actually useful.
It's like having a team of expert users
Yeah.
testing and refining the product constantly.
Making sure it meets the highest standards.
Yeah.
You
Okay,
have-
let's talk about the renaming
Yeah.
of the Attenslintr package.
Yeah.
to @nexuslenses.
Okay.
Why the name change?
So this shows how committed they are
Okay.
to using industry standards
Okay.
and making their tools work with the rest of the JavaScript world.
So instead of having their own custom linting solution,
Yeah,
they're fully embracing ESLint,
they are.
which is like the most widely used JavaScript linter.
It just makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes it easier to integrate with other tools and plugins.
And it makes the transition to Nex smoother
It does.
for people who are already used to ESLint.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's all about reducing the learning curve,
Yeah.
making a Nex more accessible.
Exactly.
I like it.
And they also introduced Next Release
Okay.
as an experimental feature.
Next release.
Yeah,
This one sounds like it could be a game changer
it could be.
for managing versions and publishing packages.
Yeah, all those things that nobody likes to do.
In your monorepo.
So less manual work,
Yeah.
fewer errors,
Yeah.
more consistency across projects.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is,
Yeah.
it's language agnostic.
Okay.
So you can use it even if you're not using JavaScript
So it doesn't matter if you're using Python
Yeah.
or Java or whatever.
or whatever.
It can help you out.
That's a big step forward.
NX is breaking free
Yeah.
from its JavaScript roots.
It's becoming more universal.
It is.
And I'm really excited about that.
Me too.
And it just makes sense
Yeah.
because monorepos are being used for more than just web apps these days.
Yeah, they are.
It's a good time to be a monorepo fan.
It is a good time.
And speaking of exciting developments,
Yeah.
they introduced the second version of the Project Inference API.
They did?
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Second version.
Yeah.
Didn't we already talk about Project Crystal,
Yeah.
which was all about inferring project configurations
You're right.
and making NX more adaptable?
So Project Crystal was introduced in NX 18.
Okay.
It was a huge step forward
Okay.
in terms of simplifying NX
Yeah.
and reducing manual configuration.
Right.
But like with any big project,
Yeah.
there's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
So this second version of the API
Yeah.
is like a refinement.
Okay.
It builds on Project Crystal.
Yeah.
It makes it even better.
Okay.
They wanted to make it more accurate,
Okay.
more performant,
Okay.
and more flexible.
So they wanted to make sure Nex could accurately infer project configurations
Exactly.
for a wider range of projects,
Yeah.
regardless of how they were structured.
Because the software world is constantly changing.
Yeah.
New tools and frameworks all the time.
Right.
So they also wanted to improve the performance of the
Right.
inference process.
Because nobody wants to wait around for Nex to figure things out.
No, they wanted to be fast.
Yeah. Okay.
And they also wanted to make it more flexible
Okay.
so developers could customize it
Okay.
to fit their specific needs.
So it's all about giving developers more control over how Nex understands their projects.
Exactly.
I like it.
Yeah, it's a testament to their commitment
Yeah.
to continuous improvement.
And speaking of milestones,
Okay.
Nex reached 20,000 stars on GitHub.
They did.
That's a lot of stars.
It's a lot of stars.
That's a big achievement. It's a real testament to the growing popularity
It is.
of Nex and the community.
And the community.
And this milestone,
Yeah.
it's like a vote of confidence
Yeah.
from the developer community. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
It is.
It's so cool to see this community growing.
Yeah.
It's a great resource for developers of all skill levels.
Yeah.
You can ask questions,
Share knowledge.
share knowledge,
Get support.
get support.
It's like having a network of experts
Yeah,
at your fingertips.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the improved task graphing capabilities.
Okay.
That visual representation
Yeah.
of dependencies
Yeah.
and task execution order.
Yeah. You need to know how it all works.
So it's like a map.
Yeah. It's like a map of your monorepo.
And it helps you understand how different parts of your project are connected.
It does.
So what kind of improvements did they make in NetHack 17?
So they focused on making it more informative
Okay.
and actionable.
So it's not just about making the graphs look prettier.
No, it's about giving developers better insights
Yeah.
so they can make better decisions.
Okay, give me some specifics.
So for example,
Yeah.
they improved how module federation is represented.
Okay.
So you can see how different parts of your application are interacting.
Yeah.
You can see which modules are shared,
Okay.
which ones are consumed,
Yeah.
and how changes in one module might affect others.
Right.
Yeah,
And they also improved the visualization of task dependencies.
they did.
You can see information about shared inputs and outputs.
Yes, you can.
So you can see which tasks depend on the same data
Yeah.
or produce outputs that other tasks use.
Right.
So it's really about understanding how your build process works.
Yeah, and optimizing it.
Yeah, and identifying any bottlenecks.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So those task graphing improvements,
Yeah,
they're great.
they are.
But that's not all.
What else is there?
NX 17 also brought some big improvements to module federation support.
Okay, module federation fans,
This is for you.
listen up.
So they added a new generator
Okay.
called Federate module
Okay,
for both React and Angular.
cool.
So it's way easier to create those shareable modules
Yeah.
that are at the heart of module federation.
It takes care of all the boilerplate.
It does.
So you can focus on the logic of your module.
Yeah.
And what about version management?
Okay.
For those federated modules?
Yeah.
Is that still a manual process?
Not anymore.
Okay.
They introduced targeted versioning
Okay.
for federated modules.
So you can have different versions for different modules?
Exactly.
Even if they're part of the same application?
Yeah,
That's pretty flexible.
that is.
It's like you can update one module
Yeah.
without bumping the version of the whole app.
Exactly.
So you could have different teams
Yeah.
working on different modules,
Yeah.
each with their own release cadence.
Exactly.
And they don't step on each other's toes.
Yeah, it's all about decoupling
Yeah.
and independent deployability,
Yeah.
which is what module federation is all about.
I like it.
So those improvements to module federation,
Yeah.
they really show how Next is staying on top of things.
Yeah. They're keeping up with the latest trends.
They are.
It's like Next is constantly evolving,
It is
adapting.
finding new ways
Yeah.
to make our lives easier.
Okay, let's talk about another cool addition
Okay.
from X17,
Yeah.
the Next AI chatbot.
Okay.
This is starting to feel like we're living in the future.
It is a little bit.
Okay, so this chatbot,
Yeah.
was it just a fun gimmick?
No, it was more than a gimmick.
Okay.
So it could answer questions about Next,
Yep, okay.
provide documentation links,
Yeah.
and even help troubleshoot some common issues.
So it was like having a Next expert
Yeah.
available 24/7.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was like the early version
Yeah,
of what would become Tusky,
right.
that much more advanced AI assistant.
The one we were talking about before.
Yeah.
So exciting.
Yeah, and you can see how Next is really pushing the boundaries
Yeah.
of what's possible in a dev environment.
But let's go back to those concrete improvements from the Next 17
Okay.
and their integration with Nextcloud.
So Nextcloud
That platform for distributed tasks, caching,
and collaboration.
collaboration. What did they do to make it even better in X17?
So they made the integration more powerful
Okay.
and easier to use.
Okay.
So you can now connect your workspace directly to your Nextcloud organization.
Okay, so no more juggling multiple accounts.
Yeah, or juggling.
And configurations. I
Exactly.
like it.
Yeah,
And they also have pre-configured Next Cloud tasks now
they do.
for common workflows.
Like running tests, building apps, deploying.
Okay, so it's like best practices.
Yeah.
Baked right in.
Big trade-in.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, less configuration, more coding.
More coding.
Speaking of coding,
Okay.
let's talk about how they simplified that nx.json file,
Yes, the next.json file.
the heart of your workspace configuration.
It is.
But it could get a little overwhelming.
Yeah, especially with bigger projects.
Yeah.
So they made it less redundant and more intuitive.
Like, for example, before, you might have had to repeat some configurations
Right.
for different targets or projects.
Exactly.
And now there are ways to consolidate those.
yeah, and make the file easier to read.
So less visual noise.
Yeah, less visual noise,
More clarity.
more clarity.
Okay. So it's not just about making it shorter.
No, it's about making it more user-friendly.
It's about making it better.
making it better, yeah.
And that's a good example
Yeah.
of their ongoing efforts to make NetX more approachable
For sure.
for everyone.
Yeah, for developers of all skill levels.
Yeah.
And speaking of making Next more accessible,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about their decision to dog foods Next workflows.
Okay, dog fooding.
Yeah.
That's when you use your own product.
Exactly.
Internally.
Yeah, you're basically saying,
Yeah.
we believe in this so much,
Yeah.
we're going to use it ourselves.
So they were using Next workflows to build Next.
Which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
It shows how much confidence they have in it.
Yeah.
Because Next Workflows was their big move
Yeah.
into the CI provider space.
You can run all your CI tasks
You can.
right in the Next Cloud platform.
So they're basically saying,
Yeah.
we trust this enough to build our own product with it.
It's a big seal of approval.
It is.
And it's not just for Next workflows.
No.
They actually do this with a lot of their tools.
They do.
They use their own stuff.
Yeah, it's a way to make sure that what they build is actually useful.
So it's like having a team of experts
Yeah.
constantly testing and refining the product.
Making sure it meets the highest standard.
Okay, let's talk about renaming the @nextlinter package
Okay.
to @nextlinter package.
Yeah.
Why the name change?
So this really shows their commitment
Okay.
to using industry standards
Okay.
and making their tools work seamlessly
Yeah.
with the rest of the JavaScript ecosystem.
So instead of having their own linting solution,
Right.
they decided to fully embrace ESLint,
They did.
which is like the gold standard
It's the most widely used linter.
for JavaScript.
Yeah.
So it just makes things easier.
It-
It's easier to integrate with other tools, and it makes the transition to Next smoother
For sure.
for developers who are already using ESLint.
Exactly.
So it's all about reducing that learning curve
Yeah.
and making Nexum more accessible.
It's a good move.
I like it.
Yeah.
And then they also introduced Next Release
They did.
as an experimental feature.
Yeah.
X Release, this one sounds like it could be a real game changer
It could be.
for managing versions and publishing packages.
Yeah, all that stuff that nobody wants to do.
In your monorepo,
So less manual work.
less manual work,
Fewer errors.
fewer errors.
More consistency.
Sign me up.
And the cool thing is it's language agnostic.
Yeah, so you can use it even if you're not primarily a JavaScript developer.
Doesn't matter if he's using Python,
Java.
Java,
Doctor.
whatever next release can help.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Nexins is really breaking free
Yeah.
from its JavaScript roots.
Yeah.
It's becoming more of a universal tool.
Which is great because monorepos are being used for more and more these days.
Yeah, not just for web apps anymore.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about the future of Next and monorepos.
Me too. There's so much innovation happening.
And speaking of the future
Yeah.
and monorepos,
Yeah.
one of the key takeaways from that conference
Okay.
was the importance of measuring and tracking
Yeah, you got to measure
the right things.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just
Oh,
adopt a monorepo
and hope for the best.
and hope it magically fixes all your problems.
Yeah, you need a plan.
You need a plan. You need to know what you're trying to achieve.
What are your goals?
Yeah, what are your goals?
Are you trying to speed up your builds
Improve code
or
quality
for collaboration?
or all of the above?
Probably all of the above.
Yeah.
Once you know your goals,
Yeah.
you need to figure out how to measure them.
Yeah. How are you going to track your progress?
Yeah.
It's about setting those goals, defining the metrics,
And then using those metrics
and then using those metrics
to make decisions.
and improve your development process.
So tools like the Next Informants plugin
Yeah.
and Code Pushup,
Yeah.
they can really help with that.
They give you the insights,
You do.
the visualizations.
Yeah, there's like a dashboard
Yeah.
for your monorepo.
Okay.
And then with AI tools like Tusky,
Yeah.
we can expect even more sophisticated insights
Oh, yeah.
and recommendations.
In the future.
Yeah,
Such an exciting time
it is.
to be a developer.
It feels like we're on the verge of something big,
Yeah.
and Next is leading the way.
And as we move into the final part of this deep dive,
Okay.
I want to encourage you, the listener,
Yeah.
to think about how these advancements might impact you.
Yeah. Think about your own work.
What could you improve
What could be better?
by using a monorepo? We'd love to hear your thoughts,
Yeah, share your ideas.
your challenges,
Your challenges.
your wins,
Your wins.
and social media.
We're always learning from you guys,
Always.
and we want to keep the conversation going.
Exactly. Okay, so we've talked about Next Power Pack.
Uh-huh.
We've talked about Tusky,
Yeah, the AI stuff,
all the cool stuff.
all the cool new stuff.
But let's talk about the evolution of Next itself.
Okay.
So version 17
Yeah,
brought a ton of improvements,
it did.
but they didn't stop there.
Oh, no, they keep going.
They keep innovating.
They do.
And one of the most exciting things I've seen
Yeah.
in recent releases
Is the introduction of standalone projects.
standalone projects.
Yeah.
What are those?
So it's a new way of thinking about
Okay.
how you structure your code
Okay.
within a Next workspace.
Traditionally, Next has been all about interconnected projects,
Right.
Sharing code and dependencies.
Yeah, that's kind of like the whole point of a monorepo.
Yeah.
But standalone projects offer a different approach.
Okay.
They're more self-contained.
So it's like having the best of both worlds.
It is.
You get the power and efficiency of a monorepo,
Yeah.
but you can also create projects
Yeah,
that are more independent.
exactly.
So if you're working on a mix of projects,
Yeah.
some that are tightly integrated
Mhm.
and some that are more standalone,
Yeah.
you can choose the best approach
For each one.
for each one
Yeah.
without losing those monorepo benefits.
Exactly.
I like it.
And that flexibility,
Yeah.
it reflects a trend we're seeing.
All right.
Software development in general.
What's that?
This move towards modularity
Okay.
and decoupling.
Breaking things down
Yeah.
into small, more independent
Or
units.
Legos.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
You're building complex systems
Yeah.
from these simple reusable blocks.
Exactly.
And Next is making it easier than ever
They are.
to adopt that Lego approach.
They even have this new feature,
What is it?
Module Federation for standalone projects.
Okay, so Module Federation.
It's all about sharing code,
Uh-huh.
between different applications. How does that work with standalone projects?
It's a game changer for code reuse.
Okay.
Let's say you have a standalone project
Yeah.
with some really useful components.
Okay.
With module federation, you can share those components
Yeah.
with other projects in your monorepo, even if those other projects are also standalone.
So it's like a library
Yeah.
of reusable building blocks
Yes.
that you can just grab and use,
Exactly.
whether your projects are tightly coupled or more independent.
It's a great way to maximize code reuse
Yeah.
and speed up development.
It's clear that Nex is really committed to making monorepos
They are.
the best possible development environment,
Yeah.
no matter how big or complex your projects are.
And they're doing a great job of listening to the community
Yeah.
and solving real-world problems.
Yeah. And that focus on the community
Yeah.
and real-world solutions.
Yeah. That was something that really stood out to me
Yeah.
at that Monorepo World Conference.
It wasn't just about the tech.
It wasn't.
It was about the people
Yeah.
who are passionate about monorepos.
And that community is so important.
It is.
It's what drives innovation.
And makes the whole thing more fun.
Yeah, it does.
So if you're listening,
Yeah.
I encourage you to tap into that community.
Yeah. Explore the next documentation.
Join the Discord server.
Connect with other developers.
Ask questions. Share your experiences.
Learn from each other.
Yeah.
And most importantly, keep experimenting.
Keep pushing the boundaries.
And keep building the software of the future.
That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.
And who knows, maybe next time we do a deep dive,
Yeah.
we'll be talking about a feature that you inspired.
That's a great thought to leave everyone with.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Into the world of Nex and monorepos.
Until next time, happy coding.